at the recording of this video, AMD is near 52-week lows. We can see its share price is 134. The 52-week low would be 116. However, if this were January, this would actually be at 52 weeks lows, as it didn't really go below 135 except for maybe here and here. So about 130 would. If it stays at this price for another couple months, it will be at 52-week lows. So you may be asking yourself, okay, I heard a bit about AMD. Is it cheap right now, right? So it depends on what you mean by that, because cheap is relative, right? Because there are cheap supercars, right? But you wouldn't say a supercar is something that's cheap, like a beater car or something like that. Now, you may think that's a bit of an exaggeration. So it is a little bit, right? AMD is a expensive stock. It has been, it always has been. It demands high PE levels. It's almost never near S&P 500 PE, at least certainly not for a long time. I don't know how much of you know the history of AMD, but since its lows, it was basically bankrupt in 2015, 2016, and since then it's just done phenomenal. Lisa Su's turned the company around completely. I like AMD stock quite a bit. However, you have to ask yourself, is this a stock that's for you? So, like I said, this stock is not necessarily cheap. It has done very, very well in stocks that perform at this level are going to demand high PE, right? So the forward PE is currently 40. This number's fudged just slightly because they merged with the company. They're writing off a lot of debt that was associated with buying that company. So this is off slightly, but if we roll with these numbers, I think that's relatively good, right? Specifically, the PE is pretty off because we can see, it's up, what is that, 108.98. So it's up slightly next year, but the forward PE isn't 3 times. They aren't making 3 times more, right? So it is cheap in the sense that this company is always going to demand high PE, right? And there's definitely worse times you could buy. I mean, and like I said, it performs well. Despite what people say online and all that, this is a company that has done very well. Over the last 5 years, the S&P 500 has only gone up about 80 to 90%, which is a lot. This company has basically tripled that, not quite. Over the last decade, it's clearly done much, much, much better than that, even if you take any of the peaks here, right? Except for the one in 2020, right? You would be incredibly happy buying at those peaks. So this is a company that has a lot baked into it. And I wouldn't necessarily say that it's cheap, right? It is cheap for AMD, but it's not a cheap company. Just at the PE metrics we're looking at here, right? But if you want to bet on AI long term, and if you believe in the leadership of the company, do more research into it, all that. I can't tell you, oh yeah, the leadership's good. You have to decide that yourself. However, if I had no shares in AMD, I would be looking to buy some around these levels. And you may run sideways for a while. I bought a lot of AMD around right here, right? Actually, it was a bit closer to like right here, near the 80s. I held it to the run up to 160. I held it all the way down to the 58, and I've done relatively well on it. Now, I was doing much better. I actually offloaded some around 210. In hindsight, was good. However, that was just standard moving money around risk management for me. So. But anyways, I don't know if this company is just going to absolutely moon. I don't know if it's going to completely run up. However, I personally like this company. I really like the leadership. I like the space they're in. I think it's going to keep doing well. Is it going to NVIDIA? Probably not. Very unlikely. Is this a cheap company? No. Is this a relatively cheap price to buy AMD at, considering where it has been? Yeah. If we have a poor tech landscape, it's going to be much cheaper than this. But if we have a great tech landscape and everyone's buying AI chips and they do decent on their AI chips, AMD is going to do very, very well, and it's going to demand kind of crazy PE. So anyways, I think I've delved into what I want to. I'm not going to dive into what ratings and all that say, just because that's not really what this video is about. It's more focusing on the PE of it, and I think I've talked long enough. So that's all I got for this video, guys. I'm going to catch you guys next time. If you enjoyed, I'd appreciate if you left a like. If you watch my content, I'd appreciate if you subscribe. It actually does help the channel out, not just hitting the button, but YouTube is like, oh, people like this content, they push it out more. I've noticed that really recently after I get a subscriber. I kind of check it a lot. But anyways, I appreciate all of you for watching. I'll catch you next time.